The bass thundered through the crystalline floors of the Crimson Nebula, sending vibrations up through Jace Holloway's worn boots as he mixed another round of stellar cocktails. The nightclub hung suspended in the void between three dying stars, its transparent walls offering a breathtaking view of cosmic storms that painted the darkness in shades of amber and violet. It was beautiful, dangerous, and exactly the kind of place where someone could disappear. Jace moved behind the luminescent bar with fluid efficiency, his hands a blur as he juggled bottles filled with liquids that defied the colors found in nature. His dark hair was slightly too long, falling across sharp cheekbones that belonged to someone younger than his eyes suggested. Those eyes, pale gray like morning frost, remained carefully neutral as he served the nightclub's eclectic clientele. "Another Graviton Fizz for the Valkyrian in Booth 7, called out Rix, the club's four-armed manager, his green tentacles waving enthusiastically. "And try not to look so miserable, Holloway. You're supposed to make the drinks look appealing, not like you're serving poison." Jace's lips twitched in what might have been a smile on someone else. "The drinks sell themselves. I'm just the delivery system." 3 months. He'd been working at the Crimson Nebula for 3 months, and not a single person had asked the right questions. The frontier sectors were good for that, full of people running from something or toward something else. Nobody looked too closely at anyone else's secrets. The evening crowd was beginning to thicken, a kaleidoscope of species from across the known territories. Insectoid traders clinked glasses with humanoid miners, while dancers from half a dozen worlds swayed to music that translated across the universal language of rhythm. The air shimmered with translation fields and exotic pheromones, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that made the Crimson Nebula the most popular establishment in 3 systems. Jace was halfway through preparing a drink that required actual fire when the entrance doors burst open with dramatic flair. The sudden disruption sent a ripple through the crowd, conversations pausing as heads turned toward the newcomer. She was striking in a way that demanded attention. Her skin was an iridescent purple that shifted to deep indigo under the club's strobing lights, and her angular features held a kind of wild beauty that suggested both danger and allure. Silver markings traced patterns across her exposed shoulders and down her arms, living tattoos that moved like liquid mercury. Her outfit was minimal, a dark mesh that left little to imagination, clinging to curves that would have been impressive on any species. But it was her eyes that caught Jace's attention. Bright amber, almost glowing, and currently unfocused with intoxication. She stumbled through the crowd with the confidence of someone who didn't care who she knocked into, laughing at something only she found funny. "Oh no," Rix muttered beside Jace. "That's Nixara Vale. She's trouble with a capital everything." "Who is she?" Jace asked, despite himself. "Smuggler, mostly. Sometimes information broker. Sometimes just chaos in humanoid form." Rix's tentacles twitched nervously. "She was banned from here 6 months ago for starting a brawl that destroyed half our glassware. Nixara had spotted the bar and was making her way toward it with determined, if unsteady, steps." Her amber eyes locked onto Jace with laser focus. "You," she announced loudly, pointing at him with a finger that traced unsteady circles in the air. "Pretty human bartender. I need the strongest thing you've got. Make it double. No, triple." Jace set down the flaming drink he'd been preparing. "I think you've had enough already." Her laugh was melodic, but sharp, like breaking glass made musical. "Oh, you think? You think I've had enough?" She leaned heavily on the bar, her face suddenly too close to his. "Let me tell you something about enough, human. Enough is when I stop being able to pronounce my own name. Enough is when the room spins faster than my ship. Enough is—" She paused, squinting at him. "You have really nice eyes. Like storm clouds. Sad storm clouds. Stellar whiskey Jace said flatly, already pouring. "One glass. Then you're cut off." "You're no fun," Nixara pouted, but she accepted the glass with both hands, holding it like a precious treasure. She downed it in one swallow, not even flinching at the burn. "Another." "No," I said, "another." Her voice took on an edge, the playful drunkenness giving way to something harder beneath. Jace leaned forward, meeting her gaze with his own calm intensity. And I said no. "You want to fight about it? We can take it outside. But in here, I'm the one pouring, and you're done." For a moment, the entire bar seemed to hold its breath. Nixara's amber eyes widened, then narrowed, then suddenly she was laughing again, this time with genuine amusement. "I like you," she declared. "You've got spine. Most humans out here are soft, but you—" She reached across the bar, her fingers moving toward his face. Jace caught her wrist gently but firmly. Don't what?" She tried to pull free, but his grip was steady. In her intoxicated frustration, she lunged forward, grabbing at his shoulder for leverage. Her fingers caught the collar of his black shirt, and with a strength surprising for her state, she yanked hard. The fabric tore with a sound like ripping silk. Buttons scattered across the bar like tiny stars, bouncing and rolling into the darkness. Jace's shirt hung open, revealing his chest, and in the strobing lights of the nightclub, something impossible became visible. Across his torso, covering most of his chest and disappearing beneath the waistband of his pants, was a tattoo. But it wasn't just any tattoo. The design glowed with a faint blue bioluminescence, intricate circuit-like patterns that pulsed with their own internal rhythm. Geometric shapes interlocked with organic flowing lines, creating something that was part art, part technology. And in the center, over his heart, was a symbol that made several nearby patrons gasp. A fractured infinity loop pierced by 3 stars. The mark of the Phantom Collective, the most notorious corporate sabotage group in 12 systems. The music seemed to fade, though it still pounded through the floor. Conversations died in waves as more people noticed, as recognition spread through the crowd like wildfire. Nixara's drunken haze evaporated instantly. Her amber eyes went wide, fixed on the glowing tattoo. "Holy void," she whispered. "You're a ghost runner." Jace's hand moved instinctively to cover the mark, but it was too late. Every eye in the Crimson Nebula was on him, and the careful anonymity he'd built over 3 months had just been destroyed by one drunk alien woman's impulsive grab. "Nixara," he said quietly, his voice carrying a warning. "You need to leave, now." But she wasn't moving. She was staring at him with a mixture of shock, recognition, and something else. Something that looked almost like understanding. "The Phantom Collective was disbanded 2 years ago," she said, her words now crisp and clear. "After the Meridian Station incident. Everyone in the group was supposedly captured, or—" She trailed off, realization dawning. "Or they disappeared." The first bottle shattered against the wall behind Jace's head. He didn't flinch. "Ghost runner," someone shouted from the crowd. "The Phantoms destroyed my family's shipping company. They stole 3 years of my research." Another voice cried out. More shouts erupted, anger bubbling up from old wounds. The Phantom Collective had been many things: brilliant, ruthless, effective, but they'd made enemies. Lots of enemies. Jace's mind was already calculating exits, threats, possibilities. The main entrance was blocked by the growing crowd. The service exit behind the bar led to the docking bay, but he'd have to go through the kitchen first. Windows weren't an option. They were in space, after all. "Rix," he said calmly to the manager, "you might want to get clear." But before anyone could make a move, Nixara did something unexpected. She stepped in front of Jace, placing herself between him and the angry crowd. Her amber eyes were now sharp and focused, all traces of intoxication gone. "Everyone back off," she commanded, her voice cutting through the noise with surprising authority. "Whatever this human did or didn't do, it's not worth dying over." "Get out of the way, Vale," growled a massive Krulin mercenary, rising from his booth. His forearms flexed menacingly. "That ghost runner's got a bounty on his head, worth more than your ship." Nixera's hand dropped to her hip, where Jace now noticed a small but lethal plasma pistol holstered. "Then you'll have to go through me to collect it." Jace grabbed her arm, pulling her back toward him. "What are you doing? You don't even know me." She glanced back at him, and in her eyes he saw something that made his breath catch. Regret, determination, and beneath it all, a spark of something that felt dangerous in an entirely different way. "I tore your shirt," she said simply. "This is my mess. Besides," a reckless grin spread across her face, "I've always wanted to punch a Krulin." The nightclub erupted into chaos. The Krulin's roar shook the crystalline walls of the Crimson Nebula as he charged forward, all four arms reaching for Nixara. She moved with surprising grace for someone who'd been stumbling drunk moments ago, sliding under his grasp and delivering a sharp kick to his knee joint. The mercenary stumbled, but didn't fall. Jace didn't wait to see more. He vaulted over the bar with fluid precision, grabbing Nixara's wrist and pulling her toward the service entrance. "If you're going to help, then move." They burst through the kitchen doors as plasma bolts seared the air behind them. The cooking staff scattered, dropping trays of exotic dishes that splattered across the floor in a rainbow of colors. Jace's boots slipped on something luminescent and purple, but he kept his balance, never releasing his grip on Nixara's arm. "Where's your ship?" he shouted over the chaos behind them. "Bay 42, but no buts. We're leaving now." They exploded through the emergency exit into the service corridor, and Jace slammed his palm against the door controls. The reinforced panels hissed shut just as something heavy crashed against them from the other side. The metal buckled but held. "That won't hold them long," Nixara panted, her iridescent skin flushed darker with exertion. "The Krulin has friends, and half the people in that club are probably calling in favors as we speak." Jace was already running, and she had to sprint to keep up with him. For someone who'd been serving drinks 5 minutes ago, he moved like a trained operative. Each turn he took seemed deliberate, as if he'd memorized every corridor of the station, despite only working here for 3 months. "You're not just a bartender," Nixara said. "Not really asking." "And you're not just drunk," Jace countered, glancing back at her. That was quite an act back there. A smile flickered across her face, despite their situation. "I might have exaggerated my level of intoxication. Stellar whiskey barely affects my species. We process alcohol differently. So the whole stumbling, grabbing my shirt thing, oh, that was real clumsiness. I genuinely meant to just tap your shoulder." She winced. "I'm really sorry about exposing you. I didn't know what that tattoo meant until I saw it." They rounded another corner and nearly collided with a security patrol. Jace pulled Nixara into a maintenance alcove, pressing her against the wall as footsteps pounded past. They were inches apart, her amber eyes locked on his gray ones, both breathing hard. "Why are you helping me?" Jace whispered. "You could have walked away. Could have collected that bounty yourself." Nixara's expression softened. "Because I saw how you didn't fight back in there. You could have hurt people, probably badly, but you chose to run instead. Whatever you did before, you're not that person anymore." She paused. "Also, I have terrible impulse control and a weakness for mysterious strangers with sad eyes." Despite everything, Jace almost smiled. "Your survival instincts need work. Tell me about it." The footsteps faded, and they slipped back into the corridor. The docking bay entrance was just ahead, its massive doors marked with faded warning signs about atmospheric decompression. Jace's torn shirt flapped open as they ran, the bioluminescent tattoo still glowing faintly against his skin. Bay 42, Nixara said, pointing to the left as they entered the cavernous docking area. The Violet Dawn. You can't miss her. She wasn't wrong. Among the various ships docked in the bay cargo haulers, passenger shuttles, mining vessels, the Violet Dawn stood out like a jewel. The ship was sleek and predatory, its hull painted in deep purples and blacks that seemed to absorb light. Curved wings swept back from a narrow fuselage, giving it the appearance of a blade cutting through space. Nice ship, Jace admitted. She's more than nice. She's the fastest independent vessel in 4 sectors. Nixara's pride was evident. Modified engines, enhanced shields, and a sensor suite that can spot trouble before it spots us. Cost me 5 years of jobs to pay for all the upgrades. They were halfway to the ship when a voice called out from behind them. Nixara, what in the frozen hells are you doing? A figure emerged from behind a cargo container, a stocky humanoid with mottled gray skin and mechanical augmentations covering half his face. His 3 eyes blinked in sequence as he took in the scene. Nixara running with a strange human whose shirt was torn open to reveal an infamous tattoo. Krevin, Nixara said, not slowing down. Start the launch sequence. We're leaving. Right now. Krevin Shard had been Nixara's mechanic and occasional partner for 2 years. He was perpetually grumpy, absolutely brilliant with engines, and the only person she trusted to keep the Violet Dawn running at peak performance. He was also cursed with an overdeveloped sense of caution that clashed spectacularly with her risk-taking nature. We're scheduled for a maintenance cycle, Krevin protested, falling into step beside them. The starboard thruster needs calibration. The shield generator has a fluctuation in the... He stopped mid-sentence as he got a better look at Jace. Is that a Ghost Runner mark? Yes, Jace and Nixara said simultaneously. No, Krevin said flatly. Absolutely not. I am not harboring a wanted fugitive. Do you have any idea how many laws that breaks? How many bounty hunters will be after us? Too late, Nixara said as they reached the ship's boarding ramp. I already blew his cover. This is partially my fault. Partially? Jace muttered. Mostly my fault, she amended. The point is, we need to leave before the station locks down. Are you in or out, Krevin? The mechanic's 3 eyes rotated in their sockets, a sign of extreme agitation in his species. You're going to get us all killed. Is that a yes? It's a... I can't believe I'm doing this. Krevin rushed up the ramp ahead of them. But if we're doing this suicide run, I'm flying. Your piloting gives me stress fractures in my mechanical parts. The interior of the Violet Dawn was cramped but efficient. Every surface served multiple purposes, and the design philosophy clearly prioritized function over comfort. Jace found himself impressed despite the circumstances. This was a ship built for running, for surviving, for outlasting anything that chased it. Nixara led him to the cockpit while Krevin disappeared toward the engine room, muttering about reckless biologicals and insufficient maintenance windows. The cockpit was tight, with 2 seats facing a wraparound viewport and control panels that glowed with soft purple light. Strap in, Nixara said, sliding into the pilot's seat with practiced ease. Her hands flew across the controls, bringing systems online with rapid-fire precision. This might get rough. Jace took the co-pilot's seat, his eyes scanning the readouts. You've got pursuit ships launching from bays 7 and 12. 3 of them. You can read Valkyrian displays? I can read a lot of things. The Violet Dawn's engines thrummed to life with a sound like distant thunder. Through the viewport, Jace could see the docking bay's magnetic field shimmering, the only thing between them and the void of space. Krevin, Nixara spoke into the com. How are we looking? Marginally prepared for catastrophic failure, came the grumpy reply. Shields at 80%. which we'll have to do. Weapons are online, though I don't recommend using them against station security. Noted. Nixara's fingers danced across the navigation controls. Hold on to something, Ghost Runner. My flying makes Kreven nervous, but it also keeps us alive. The violet dawn shot forward like a loosed arrow. The acceleration pressed Jace back into his seat as they burst through the magnetic field and into open space. Behind them, the Crimson Nebula's lights receded, and 3 sleek pursuit craft emerged in their wake. They're fast, Jace observed calmly, watching the scanner display. Not fast enough. There was a wild grin on Nixara's face now, the expression of someone truly in her element. Watch this. She threw the ship into a corkscrew spiral, the stars wheeling around them in a dizzying display. The pursuit ships matched the maneuver, firing plasma bolts that streaked past their shields in brilliant flashes of blue and green. Kreven, Nixara called out. I need full power to the engines. You have full power to the engines. Then I need more than full power. That's not how physics works. A plasma bolt grazed their starboard shield, sending a shower of sparks through the cockpit. Warning lights flashed red across multiple displays, and Jace felt the ship shudder beneath them. There's an asteroid field ahead, Jace said, studying the navigation display. Dense, unstable orbits. The kind of place sensible pilots avoid. Nixara's grin widened. Perfect. They plunged into the asteroid field at a speed that made Jace's heart rate spike despite his training. Massive rocks tumbled through space around them, some the size of small buildings, others large enough to have their own gravity wells. Nixara wove between them with reflexes that seemed almost prescient, the violet dawn dancing through gaps that looked impossibly narrow. Behind them, one of the pursuit ships clipped an asteroid and spiraled out of control, its pilot too slow to match Nixara's manic trajectory. The other 2 persisted, but were forced to slow down, losing ground. Almost there, Nixara murmured, more to herself than to Jace. She was completely focused now, her amber eyes reflecting the chaos of tumbling rock outside the viewport. Just need to ... there. She dove beneath a massive rotating asteroid, using its gravity to slingshot them forward with breathtaking acceleration. The pursuing ships tried to follow, but one misjudged the angle and was forced to pull up, nearly colliding with its partner. When they emerged from the far side of the asteroid field, they were alone. The pursuit ships had either given up or gotten lost in the maze of rock. Nixara let out a whoop of triumph, throwing her hands up in celebration. Did you see that? That was perfect. That was incredibly reckless. Kreven's voice interrupted through the comms. My sensors registered 17 near-collision events. 17? But we didn't actually collide, Nixara pointed out. That's not the point. Jace found himself laughing, a sound that felt foreign after months of carefully controlled neutrality. Nixara turned to look at him, surprised, and her expression softened into something warm. You have a nice laugh, she said. You should do it more often. Haven't had much reason to lately. She reached over and placed her hand on his arm, her purple skin warm against his. The touch sent an unexpected jolt through him. Well, maybe that changes now? The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Then Kreven's voice crackled through the comms again, breaking the spell. Where exactly are we going? Because if you don't have a plan, I'm setting course for the nearest neutral station and dropping both of you off. Nixara pulled her hand back, but her eyes never left Jace's face. Do you have somewhere safe? Somewhere they won't think to look? Jace was quiet for a long moment, weighing his options. Trust didn't come easily anymore, not after what happened with the Phantom Collective. But this woman had put herself in danger for him, a stranger, because she felt responsible for exposing him. That meant something. There's a place, he finally said. A way station called Haven's Edge. It's off the standard navigation routes, run by someone who owes me a favor. If we can make it there, we can lay low and figure out our next move. Haven's Edge? Nixara pulled up the navigation charts. That's in the periphery. 3 days of travel at standard speed. Can you make it in 2? Her grin returned. Ghost Runner, I can make it in 1.5 if you can handle the stress on your internal organs. I'll manage. Nixara input the coordinates and engaged the hyperdrive. The stars stretched into lines and into a tunnel of light as they jumped. The ship settled into the steady hum of faster-than-light travel. Krevin, Nixara said into the comm. We're locked in for 18 hours. You should get some rest. Rest? After that stunt you just pulled? I'll be running diagnostics for the next 6 hours at least. Some of us care about keeping the ship operational. But there was a note of grudging affection in his grumbling. Alone in the cockpit with Jace, Nixara turned her pilot's chair to face him fully. So, Ghost Runner, are you going to tell me your real story? Or should I keep calling you by your criminal reputation? My name is Jace, he said. Jace Holloway. And yes, I was part of the Phantom Collective. I did things I'm not proud of, but you got out. I tried to. After Meridian Station, he trailed off, his jaw tightening with remembered pain. That operation went wrong. People died who shouldn't have. I couldn't do it anymore. Nixara listened without judgment, her amber eyes soft with understanding. So you've been running ever since. For 2 years. New identity, new life, new rules. I promised myself I wouldn't hurt anyone again. He looked down at his torn shirt, at the glowing tattoo that had betrayed him. This mark was supposed to be removed. I had an appointment scheduled for next month. Waited 3 months for an opening with a black market biotech specialist. I really did ruin everything for you, Ixara said quietly. You didn't know. Still, she stood up and moved closer, kneeling beside his chair so they were at eye level. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. And I meant what I said back there. Whatever happens next, we're in this together now. Jace studied her face, searching for deception or ulterior motives. But all he saw was genuine remorse, mixed with that same reckless determination that had made her stand between him and an angry mob. Why? He asked. You don't know me. I could be dangerous? Could be? She laughed softly. Jace, you're definitely dangerous. I saw how you moved back there. But dangerous doesn't always mean bad. Her hand reached up, fingers hovering near the exposed tattoo on his chest. May I? He nodded, not trusting his voice. Her touch was feather-light, tracing the glowing patterns. It's beautiful, in a way. Like captured lightning. It's a slave brand, Jace said bitterly. A mark of ownership. The collective put these on all their operatives. Makes you easier to track, easier to control. Then we'll get it removed, properly. I know people who can do it safely. Her eyes met his. You're not a slave anymore, Jace. You're free. Something in his chest loosened at those words, a knot he'd been carrying for 2 years. Thank you. For everything. Nixara smiled, and it transformed her face from merely striking to genuinely beautiful. Don't thank me yet. We still have to survive the next few days. She stood, stretching. Speaking of which, you should probably find something else to wear. That torn shirt is distracting, and we need to stay focused. Distracting? Her grin turned mischievous. Well, you are quite built for a ghost runner. I thought you people were all tech nerds and computer specialists. Not all of us. Despite himself, Jace felt warmth creeping up his neck. It had been a long time since anyone had looked at him with anything other than fear or suspicion. Where would I find different clothes? Crew quarters are aft. Second door on the left. Might be tight on you. I don't usually transport humans, but it's better than looking like you just survived a bar fight." She paused. "Which, technically, you did." Jace stood, and in the confined space of the cockpit, they were suddenly very close. He could smell her scent, something like ozone and exotic flowers. Her amber eyes reflected the starlight from the viewport, making them glow. "Nixara," he said softly, "when this is over, when it's safe, I'd like to properly thank you." "I'll hold you to that, Jace Holloway." As he left the cockpit, Jace realized something had shifted. For 2 years, he'd been running alone, trusting no one, isolated by necessity and guilt. Now, because of one impulsive moment and a torn shirt, he had allies. Dangerous, reckless, utterly unpredictable allies. And against all logic, he found himself looking forward to whatever came next. In the crew quarters. He found clothes that were indeed tight but serviceable. As he changed, covering the damning tattoo, he caught his reflection in a polished metal panel. For the first time in 2 years, his eyes didn't look quite so haunted. Maybe Nixara was right. Maybe he was free. Or maybe his thoughts took a darker turn. He was just pulling other people into his mess. The bounty on his head wouldn't go away. The people hunting him wouldn't stop. And now Nixara and Kreven were caught up in it too. He'd have to find a way to protect them. Even if it meant leaving once they reached Haven's edge. But as he returned to the cockpit and saw Nixara's face light up at his appearance, as she made a joke about humans looking almost presentable in Valkorian clothing, Jace found himself hoping that leaving wouldn't be necessary. For the first time in years, he wanted to stay. The violet dawn carried them through hyperspace toward an uncertain future. But in that moment, with starlight streaming through the viewport and Nixara's laughter filling the air, Jace Holloway allowed himself to hope. And hope, he was discovering, was more dangerous than any Ghost Runner tattoo.